Joint forces stop Houthi penetration attempt in Hodeidah. UNICEF announces reduction of its activities in Yemen. High prices deepen people's suffering throughout the country. Good evening and welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Roshan Fouad. In Hodeidah, a Houthi suicidal infiltration attempt ends in failure. Today, the joint forces inflicted losses on the Houthi militia during an attempt to infiltrate south of Hodeidah. Joint forces reported that the Irani-backed militia pushed a number of their members to carry out a suicide attempt to infiltrate military positions east of the city of Hodeidah, backed by heavy cover of fire with mortars and machine guns, but that attempt failed. Still in Hodeidah, sources said that the Houthi militia fired civilian properties in different areas. The sources said that this fire came as a retaliation to the failed penetration attempt in which members of the Houthis were killed and injured. The militia fired heavy mortar fires in Al Fazza town and targeted with medium guns houses in Al Jabalaya area. Houthis' attack caused a state of fear and panic among citizens. Houthis' offensive continued in the south of Hodeidah, especially on the populated areas. The rebels targeted with intensive artillery the districts in town. Violent confrontations took place between the government forces and the Houthi militia in northwest of El Dala. Houthi militias used artillery and medium weapons, while the government forces were able to fire back and put out the hostile fire amid losses in the ranks of the Houthi militia. Sources of the popular resistance in El Dala frontier confirmed that El Dala is in need of military support since it is considered a strategic gate. Rights Raider for Human Rights said that Houthi rebels conducted 5,143 violations against civilians and properties in El Bayda, center of Yemen. The non-governmental organization mentioned in its report that these violations were done by Houthis since 2014. More on this is within this report.
An international human rights organization revealed that the Houthi militia committed 5,143 violations against civilians in Al Bayda, central Yemen from 2014 until the end of 2020. According to the report published by Rights Radar from Human Rights entitled Yemen, Al Bayda, the Terrifying Revenge, the Houthi violations included 537 killings and 543 injuries, ranging from direct killing, artillery shelling, sniping, assassinations, and landmines. The report monitored 2,157 cases of kidnapping, 112 cases of enforced disappearance, and 122 torture cases of the kidnapped and the disappeared. It also documented 1,672 violations against public and private property, affecting 1,223 homes, 131 vehicles, 118 commercial buildings, 54 educational buildings, 48 places of worship, and 33 government buildings. The organization revealed several stories and testimonies of a number of victims of violations. Al Bayda is only one city from many other cities across the country that is under ruthless and unhumanitarian violations committed by Houthis. While the organization has called on the militia to stop committing violations against civilians in Al Bayda and the rest of the country, and to release all detainees, abductees, and forcibly disappeared persons.
Since Houthi rebels seized the capital Sana'a in 2015, human rights violations acts have been committed on a daily basis, a thing which received local, regional, and international condemnation. These violations reached their climax with targeting disabled people. This report includes more details.
Houthi war machine is still having its toll on Yemenis, even those with special needs. After being consumed heedlessly in a barren war, hundreds of war disabled tried to cut the road in a 70 square in the capital Sana'a. They expressed their exacerbation as to Houthis' negligence. They vented their rage for being ignored after surfing in Houthis' front lines. The rebels themselves admit that there are 7,000 handicapped among their fighters because of their unjust war in Yemen. The Houthis may even brag that they hand those disabled financial and in-kind aids through their newly established alms authorities. Looking at this generous handover, United Nations experts say all that which is given to the war disabled equals no more than a fraction of 1% as to the total proceeds that return into the militia's pockets. Now, what about the Disabled Care and Rehabilitation Fund? According to an official inside the fund, the rebels transferred the fund's money to what they so-called the War Effort Support. They have prepared food convoys out of the fund's capitals in order to feed their fighters. The financial aid to the Houthi war disabled isn't the whole issue. There is indeed a grimmer picture. It is discrimination. Those with disabilities are not equally treated. According to an observer, there is inside the Houthis themselves distinction into categories. This categorization is based on area orientation, starting with those Houthis who are in Sa'da at the top. Even in this slab, there is distinction too. Those who are claimed to be the Prophet's relatives are superior to others. And now, with all of that in mind, all Yemenis are invited to return back their country as soon as possible, a country that will thrive with equality, welfare, and peace. Peace for all, without abhorrent discrimination or favoritism.
The UNICEF has warned it would reduce activities in Yemen due to the lack of funding. This announcement comes amid reports of manipulation of humanitarian aids. This report sheds light on this story.
A report issued by the United Nations Children's Fund on Friday warned of a 20% rise in the number of malnourished children under the age of 5, nearly half of the number of the children of this age in Yemen. The organization said that the number of malnourished children in Yemen may reach 2.4 million by the end of the year due to the significant shortfall in the humanitarian funding. In addition to that, another UNICEF report warned of a 20% rise in the number of malnourished children under the age of 5, nearly half of all children of that age in the country. The United Nations said there is not enough funding to keep the aid flowing. A donor conference this month collected half of what was needed, and aid programs affected millions are set to close in the coming weeks. UNICEF is appealing for $461 million for its humanitarian response, of which it currently funds only 39%, and $53 million for its response to COVID-19, of which only 10% are funded. Disinfection and vaccination programs and the fight against malnutrition face the threat of closure and a decline in their numbers. The Yemeni health system is on the verge of collapse, and aid is what helped it to continue. Malaria and fever spread among the malnourished population even before the outbreak of coronavirus. How are the Yemeni people going to survive with the continuous lack of help?
Coming next. Health Office in Taiz demand urgent help amid COVID-19 outbreak.
ثالث على منطقة الروضة استهدف الأطفال الأبرياء اللي يلعبوا في الشارع يدعي للسلام يقول له للسلام يقتل أطفالنا يقاتل أطفالنا الأبرياء.
أنا قلت افتجعت ولا أقول معي واحد صاروخ ثاني طلعت البيت حقنا ناس أنا ألعب أنا وأصحابي والصاروخ الطرح.
Welcome back. The markets in the healthy controlled capital Sana'a are witnessing an increase in the prices. Traders in the markets of Sana'a said that the prices are not stable. They added that the recession hits the values of commodities, especially for wholesalers. Traders said that the increase in prices is due to the instability of the exchange rate against the dollar and to the taxes which are paid to Houthis to finance their fighting frontiers. The majority of Yemeni people bears the consequences and stands alone, unable to confront the ravages of war, division, and the ongoing economic deterioration. Over the past month, the Yemeni rial has declined against foreign currencies to the lowest rate since the war began in March 2015. More of that story is within this report.
The depreciation of the Yemeni rial and the disparity in monetary policies continue to contribute to a widening exchange rate gap between the north and south of Yemen, making it increasingly difficult for ordinary citizens to afford basic necessities including food, according to the Famine Early Warning System Network, a provider of early warning and analysis on food insecurity. In the south, the Yemeni rial dropped from 900 per US dollar in May 2021 to over 1,000 per $1 by the end of July 2021 on the parallel market. The overall depreciation represents a more than 36% loss of value compared to the same time last year. Meanwhile, in the north, the exchange rate has remained relatively stable since late 2019, remaining below 600 per $1. Before the war, the rial traded at 215 to the US dollar. The depreciation of the Yemeni rial is a major driver of food insecurity in import-dependent Yemen, where millions of people cannot afford enough food to get them through the day. Food prices have risen by at least 1/3 in 6 of Yemen's 22 governorates in the first 5 months of this year. Yemen hasn't experienced such a rapid increase in food prices since late 2018, when the country was last on the brink of a famine, with foreign currency injections at the time helping to avert famine by stabilizing the economy. By June 2021, the minimum food basket costs 9,133 per person in the south and 6,453 in the north, highlighting significantly higher food prices than in 2018, by 62% in the south and more than 18% in the north. To help families cope with the rising food prices, World Food Programme has increased the cash assistance amount since the 1st of July. Yet, it remains challenging to keep pace with such rapid price increases which threaten to worsen an already critical hunger crisis. World Food Programme has also increased food assistance in all the famine risk areas since the start of the year, as additional funds have become available. However, some 3 million of the 13 million people supports with food assistance still only receive food assistance on alternate months as funding remains uncertain.
The health office in Taiz made an alarming call through its third press conference to confront the third wave of the coronavirus pandemic. During the conference, the coronavirus situation was reviewed along with the limited resources in the country. The conference identified the main obstacles facing the treatment centers in different areas.
We are facing several issues, one of which is that we do not have an operating budget for health isolation centers in the main health centers in the city hospitals, as we rely completely on a medical nursing and contractual staff where there is no official staff in the isolation centers.
Yemeni National Center for Weather Forecast indicated that expected showers of different intensity to fall in the country during the coming hours. According to the center, heavy to medium rains coupled with thunderstorms are expected in the western highlands to the north of Yemen. Heavier showers are expected in Taiz, Ib, El Dala, and Haja. The center added that the eastern parts of Yemen will have more rain and warned people and drivers to take caution. Here is a reminder of the main headlines. Joint forces stop Houthi penetration attempt in Hodeidah. UNICEF announces reduction of its activities in Yemen. High prices deepen people's suffering throughout the country. That is the end of the news. Thank you for watching.